Go ahead.
What's the status of Rep Bowler?
Not good. He's got a pretty banged up shoulder, and we're just trying to determine, is there anything more serious there. I think it's something Brett struggled with for a few years, not knowing him before he came to Bowling Green, not having recruited him. It just sounded like it's been kind of a nagging thing, and I think this one's going to take a little bit of time. We're not looking at anything surgically or anything right now, but that could be something down the road, because it's something, ultimately it's not something we want to be dealing with for the next 2.5 years, and nor does he. So it's his status is out right now, and we'll see if and when it gets better.
Do you expect to have him before Christmas?
Kevin, that's a good, we're running out of time before Christmas, so I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Not to ask the obvious, but what do you miss when he's not in?
We miss everything about his game. He plays in all situations. For a team that struggles to score goals, he's an offensive guy. He's kind of slippery and skilled, and he's willing. He competes pretty hard every game, and he's one of those guys that we think has a chance to be a pretty special player, and we just don't have like an overabundance number of those guys, and to lose one it makes it hard, but those are opportunities for somebody else to step up, which that's what we're looking for.
And Ryan Vaselli?
Ryan, I think, is pretty good. It was more of a Charlie Horse type thing, and he practiced fine today. Seems to be real close to that 100% mark. So we expect him to be competing to play this weekend.
Anybody else other than Miami weekend?
No.
And speaking of guys stepping up, is Mike Fink one guy that could fill an offensive role?
Yes, Mike Fink's one of those guys that we think can do just about whatever. I think we've talked about Michael a little bit before, in that in high school he was looked at as nothing but an offensive guy. And I'm not saying he didn't care about defense. I'm just saying he was an offensive guy. In the USHL, I think there started to be more of different layers to his game. And at this level, I think he's a guy that can play just about whatever role you need him to play. And we're always looking, Michael, when I say we, he's on board with us, always looking for more from Michael. He can do just about whatever, like I say. So whether it's skating or pushing the puck or just being a shutdown type centerman, I think he can do whatever. And he's a guy that can play in the power play, can kill penalties, and he's done both. So he's one of those guys, when you lose a Moeller, that could step up and contribute.
What does he have to do yet to become a top 6 forward? Consistency.
I don't think he's consistent enough with that, but he's 14 games or 12 games into his sophomore year, and I forget that. That's my biggest challenge. Our biggest challenge as a staff is you forget that the kid's played a year in 12 games or a year in 14 games, and that doesn't make him experienced. That makes him young still. And that consistent level is what we're looking for from him and the rest of our team.
Chris, will you talk about the value of the win against Miami on Saturday?
I truly believe it was another small step forward for us. I really do. I think we were disappointed with what happened on Friday, and it wasn't about the mistakes or the results. It was about the lack of willingness to compete and how exposed we got by a team that is very willing to compete and who wanted it more, quite frankly. And that's something that will not be we won't stand for that. And the guys won't stand for it. So you point it out and you get after them a little bit. And then here we are on Saturday, we give up the first goal, and the shoulders didn't drop. We get them to score, tie it. Give up a second goal, shoulders didn't drop, oh, woe was me. We stuck with it. And, we just kept fighting, and yeah, we got outshot 2-1, and our process was just okay. But we hung in there pretty good in a place that's now probably one of the tougher places in our league to play, which is hard for me to think about, because that never was the case before. I just thought we were resilient, and to see their reaction, I just think it was they deserve that. They deserve that. Through this thing, there's so much more negative things you can take away than positive, but I really feel they deserve more positive. And I think they really felt good about themselves, as they should have, to stand in there and fight. Yeah, we took a bunch of punches and we may have got, beat overall in the game. But the fact was, we hung in there, we earned a tie, which late in the third, and went into overtime and kept playing. We didn't sit back and hold on and hope. We kept playing, and to get the shootout win was nice. Ultimately, it's a tie, but it's to get a shootout win gave us a little bit of something. And like I said, I really think our guys deserved it.
And I hear what you're saying about tie and shootout win, but does this also help the coaches, the coaching staff? Because I would think, to that point, there might be that degree of doubt, or now you have a higher buy-in.
Yeah, I will speak for myself on that. This year I've struggled a lot more than I did last year with that, what you're saying right there. I've questioned what I'm doing, just to make sure I'm thinking of all the things I can think of. And I've only been a head coach for a year and 12 games, and I do definitely, and people that know this and know me know this, I don't have the answers. And it was nice to see that these guys were buying into what we were talking about. And if you do give that kind of effort and that kind of focus and that kind of compete level, you get rewarded sometimes. And maybe when you're not quite as talented as your opponent, you do get rewarded. So it was nice from our perspective to challenge our guys and see them step up and meet that challenge and fight through it.
Well, you also talk a little bit about the difference. I mean, it stands in stark contrast to Friday, doesn't it?
Yeah. The difference, I think Miami just took the will out of us as the game went on Friday. Saturday, they weren't able to do that. We were resilient Saturday. Friday, it was a pretty tight checking game through the first. It was a really bad bounce on their first goal, and so we're down 1-0 after one. No big deal. But the second was really bad, and it seemed to get worse as the game went on. And I think they just took the guts out of us, And that's something that hasn't happened to our team very much over the past year and a half. Saturday, they just didn't let that happen. And I know it wasn't a 2-goal deficit or a 3-goal deficit, but we don't talk about the score. We talk about that next play, that next opportunity to go out there and do something. And Saturday, we just showed a resiliency that we didn't on Friday. So it was nice to see that answer and that focus after a poor effort. And I do think we're trying to create and take away some demons that are around here. Like they say, we haven't won at Miami in this many games, and we don't play well against Miami, or we don't play well against this team or that team. We have to get rid of those historical thoughts and get to more of, we don't care what we've done historically against this team. This is another opportunity for us to do well against them and find a way to break through those traditions or whatever it may be, and be successful in those situations. And Saturday was a lot better example of that than obviously than Friday was. Alaska, a really good team. A team that doesn't deserve their record. I've talked to 2 different coaches in our league that have played them. Now both those series were up there. And they felt like they're a really good team. They're a team that keeps coming. I think they've got some really skilled, smaller forwards, but guys that just keep coming and they throw pucks at the net. And they've always been a team to me that plays just as good on the road as they do at home, just because they don't really care. They just play. Now, I'm not sure where this team fits into that because I haven't seen them this year, but it's another example that it's going to be a tight checking weekend. It's going to be 2 close games, I feel, and we're going to have to find a way to be on the positive side of those plays, those 10, 12 plays. Seeing them on tape doesn't make me believe anything different. Seeing their results against teams we've played, Miami, Ferris, Notre Dame, it's going to be right there. I mean, Miami swept them, Notre Dame swept them, but they were, 2-1 games, and I guess Reichert was outstanding up there. Notre Dame was losing and had to fight back. We know what that feels like. We've been on the receiving end of that. So I think it's 2 teams that by the record in league anyway are struggling. But I think they're two teams, and I'll speak about them specifically, that are better than their record. I feel we've played better than our record at times, and we're going to have to find a way this weekend. Obviously, there'll be no students here, so it'll just be us and our local fans, and we're looking forward to it. Get back home is always nice, and you know, we didn't get to play them here last year, so we're looking forward to the challenge, and hopefully we're ready to go.
How much do the injuries factor in to what's happened with Alaska this year? I mean, they've got a ton of guys there.
Their injuries?
Yeah.
I don't, and I never really have known their team great in terms of that, to know the ins and outs of their injuries and whatever. I know they've got a great goalie in Grenham, and he's played most of the games. I'm sure they've hurt them big time. You know, I'm sure they've hurt them to where they, you know, it's cost them some games or some offense or whatever. But again, if you look at the box scores of what they've done to this point, they're out shooting teams pretty consistently, in particular at home, which we don't see them at home until January. But you know, I'm sure the injuries have hurt them, but I also feel like some bounces, probably some untimely poor plays that have ended up costing them goals, that you know, costing them games. This is a really good team, and we know it. So we're in no position to look at people in the standings, because you know, they're tied with us anyway. So we're excited for another opportunity to play at home and see how we'll do.
What do you think of shootouts?
I like shootouts. I really do. Win or lose, I like them. I know that there's lots of coaches that don't. We're trying to constantly emulate the NHL, because that's our number one competitor when it comes to players and recruiting, is major junior. That's our number one. And we want to emulate the NHL, because that's what major junior does. They go half visors, and they go 4-on-4 in overtime, and they go shootout. And all the college coaches want it, and we're focused on the half visor. Let's get half visors, because that's what the NHL does, that's what the OHL does. Well, they both do shootouts as well. I don't think fans come to games to see a shootout in the hope of seeing a shootout. I think fans enjoy the shootout, and I enjoy it. So that's it's strictly my opinion. I know I speak for myself on that. I know there's a lot of people that disagree, and particularly coaches, but I think it's good.
Considering how things went last weekend, you talked about more kids maybe buying in after the Saturday experience. In the back of your mind, are you thinking this weekend back home, 2 winnable games, boy, how great this would be, sweep this thing,
Yeah.
and just be headed even more so in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think I'd be human if I didn't think that. But I also I want to tread that line cautiously, because does that mean if we get swept we go backwards? You know, that's where that short-term focus has to continue. I don't want to be a hypocrite and look at things in big picture wise when it's convenient, and small picture wise when things aren't good. I think our focus right now is tomorrow, and when Friday comes, it'll be that one game. And if we're lucky enough to have the result we want, then we have another opportunity Saturday to go and take a step forward. And that's the only way I can, because I'm not trying to play devil's advocate or look at the cup half full, half empty. But I just don't want to get into that situation, and all of a sudden, if something opposite of that goes on, all of a sudden now we're in a tailspin. Because I don't think that's the case. We still feel like we're pushing forward every day. I'd like the results to show that, but you know, it does come into my mind, but we're not going to let it creep into what we talk about, or how we're thinking in terms of our preparation and things like that. We'll focus on one day at a time, and right now it's tomorrow.
Going back to the shootouts, with next year being a rules change year, how would you like to see ties broken? Are you all right with going to the shootout? Well,
again, Kevin, I'm going to stick to my thought on why not do what the NHL does. If that's our main focus, and our focus is the OHL, to keep kids and use that argument again. Coaches are saying publicly we need half shields. It's our number one fight, which I didn't realize that. But you know, if we're going to do that, then why stop there? Let's go 4-on-4 in overtime, and let's go shootouts to break the tie. And You know, if everyone's doing it across the country, then it doesn't go down as a tie. It goes down as a win. You know, and then we don't have to have the 3-point game, or we can in league or whatever. You do whatever you want in league, but it still go down as a win. I understand there's so many more implications at our level with 36 games than there is over an NHL series, an NHL season at 80 games, or an OHL season at 65 games. But I'd like to see them a 4-on-4 and a shootout, just because that's what our competition's doing. And if we're trying to get kids to come to our side, let's stick to that plan. And I think it's exciting. So I think it'd be fan-friendly as well. What the implications are, I haven't thought enough about it. So that's where the critics will say you're wrong. How do you say that? You've got the RPI and all this other stuff. I haven't thought enough about it. I think from the entertainment value and the fan side and what we're doing recruiting-wise and who we're going after, why we wouldn't emulate the best league in the world, which is what they're telling people. Hey, come to the OHL because we do what the NHL does in shootouts and visors. And why would we stop? If we're going to go after visors, let's go after the same way to break ties as well. And again, that's a personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of Bowling Green or anybody else but me.
Putting the personal opinion aside, how do you guess the tie game issue might be resolved?
In our league, or
both, I guess.
Well, in our league, I'm sure the shootout will go away. You know, once we go to the WCHA, they don't have a shootout. You know, I don't know what collectively across the country people think. In our league, it's always 10-2 or 9-2 with the coaches against. The two we're voting for were Blashill and I, and Blashill's out, so maybe it's 9-1 or 10-1 now. But the ADs like it, so. I don't know. I think the shootout might be a dead issue. The overtime thing is going to be a big thing, and I don't know, Kevin. I really don't. If we stay to the mindset of who our competition is and why wouldn't we go after them, I think we're going to go 4-on-4.
When you talk about, I know what you've said, but to play devil's advocate, what about the fact that a team could finish 5th instead of 4th on shootouts? The team could lose the first round bye on shootouts or the 8-9 seed.
That's the deal. And again, the RPI is the same way. So you don't make the national tournament because of a shootout. That makes no sense. But again, there's going to be holes in whatever we do. I don't see the shootout going. I've told you my opinion. I don't see the shootout going. So we're going to do the same thing with 4-on-4 in overtime. I think the 4-on-4 in overtime has legs. I think more people like that. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have 4 guys out there instead of 5, and that's going to determine whether you go to the national tournament or host a playoff or not. Hey, that's what's happening in the National Hockey League. People are not making the playoffs or making the playoffs over a shootout. So the traditionalist says that's ridiculous. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world. They've been doing it for years. So that seems to be fine there. Now, I know it's part of the culture, but anyway, I'm not one of those guys that's trying to reinvent the wheel or change everything. You asked me about the shootout, I like it. I think it's fun to watch. I think the kids at Miami enjoyed watching it. When we have one here or a couple here, kids enjoy watching it. What does it do to all those other things? It makes a mess of it. There's no doubt about it. So that's why I don't see it ever having legs any more than one league at a time, and even that. It's been more people have been against it than for it from the coaching side anyway.
Good. That's good. All right, Bruce, thank you.
All right, thanks.